Okay, y'all, let's get going. This time you need your computer and you need to open up the program collab.research.google.com and let's do some coding, y'all. How on a ham sandwich are y'all doing today, y'all? I am Mr. Bertrand. Good to see y'all. So listen, we're going to do a little bit of coding and I'm going to move through it with a sense of urgency because, we spent a lot of time on this. And what I'm hoping to point out are a couple of things that might help you with the code that you're working on. You'll see me look to the side here because of my other screen. It may help you, but also, feel free to use this code. It's totally fine, all right? Don't forget to set that lab. So let's get to it. So first, let's define what we're doing. I'm going to define this as factoring trinomials. Remember the trinomials that we're factoring have an a term of 1, okay? All right, so we're going to define our code here, and I'm calling mine define space factor trinomials BC, right? Remember the B term and the C term from it, colon. And now we're going to define that range of values for I in range of. And what I'm going to do, because this particular code is going to cover all types of factors, right? So you have a trinomial, and what I want you to be able to produce are the different types of factors it have. So either both of the factors are positive, either both of the factors are negative, or one of each. So I'm defining my range of values by covering all of the values that they could be. So if I'm thinking about that C term in any trinomial, right, I need those factors. And in this case, I need both the positive and the negative factors. So I want the negative absolute value of C all the way to the absolute value of C. And the reason why we use absolute value is because in case our original problem has is negative, so we're not doing double duty. Now, the one thing that has been going wrong coming up for people is that here's the problem. If I'm defining my range of values from the negative to the, right, from the range of it. So let's say the C term was 5. That means I'm going from -5 to 5, from -5 to -4 to -3 to -2. And those are the numbers I'm using to divide everything. The problem is you can't divide by 0. So what happens when the program gets to 0? Yeah, it doesn't work. And that's why you're getting this error. So what we need to tell the program is that if I can be all of these things, but it cannot be 0. No. So we take it off the table. And that's how you write it, right? Remember, exclamation point equal sign, not 0. Let's keep going. So let's do some work here. So if C space module I equal. So again, right, it's taking the C value and dividing it by all of those in that range, all those different ones it could be in that range. And I don't want any of the decimals. I just want the ones that come out to a number. Nice whole number. So I'm now telling it to divide those and find that and only give me that nice whole. Oop, don't do that Y like I did. That nice whole number, right? We don't want any 7.0s, 2.0s, no decimals. We just want the number, the whole number. And now we're taking those values of D and I to help us determine our B. And this is how you get there. If H is equal to B, then some things are going to happen. So this essentially is it. This is the code. You are done. At this point, we're going to start putting in some if-then statements and that kind of stuff so we can get the printout that we want. But I want to show you one other thing. I just want to drive this home a little bit. So let's say that, for argument's sake, the trinomial we were going to use was x squared minus 6 plus 5. Let's say that's it. And this is the actual one we're going to use, right? So our B is -6 and our C is 5. When I define this in this, right, I'm saying I is going to be -5, right? The negative absolute value of c to the c, right? It's -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, right? It's going to think about 0, but since we put that line in there, we don't count 0, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm taking c, which I'm saying is 5, and I'm dividing it against each one of these. I'm just writing this out, and I know this is messy, right? But I'm just trying to give you a sense of what is happening. And that's where D is. D is saying divide those and then only give me the ones, only give me the answers that come out to a nice number, right? So this wouldn't be a nice number, so that's not counted, that's not counted, that's not counted. This is going to be a -1, that's going to be a -5, that's going to be a 5, that don't count, that don't count, that don't count, that's going to be a 1. Now take those in H and run it across that range, and whichever ones add up to 6, I got my factors. And as you can see, right, which ones will add up to 6. That's what that is doing there. And if it does add up to 6, or if it does add up to our B, we have our factors. That's what's happening there. Okay, let's finish this up because we're pretty much done. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at is if the range of values, so since we eliminated the 0, now we're going to look at it just for the positive versions of that range, and then we're going to look at it for the negative versions of that range. So if that's true, D is greater. Where's my greater sign? Yeah, D is greater than 0, colon. Then we want it to print, and I want it to be cute, right? So I'm gonna have it print your factored form is, I'm gonna put a little space there because I don't want my answer to be right up against my wording, is open parenthesis x plus squiggly bracket, close parenthesis, open parenthesis, x space plus squiggly brackets, close parenthesis. Now, when you come here, be careful. Come right on the other side of that quotation mark, point dot format, because what we're telling it is here, those squiggly brackets that we just did. So the I is going to go into this first one. That's where our answer for I is going to go. And then our answer for D is going to go right here. We're telling it where to put the answers. And then conversely, if D turned out to be less than 0, colon, print, space, your. Now you could write anything here, right? Don't forget your parentheses there, but you can put anything like the answer is, right? I'm putting your factored form is, I'm being really, really formal here. You totally don't have to do that. You can zhuzh it up any kind of way. All right, so x plus, squiggly brackets, close parenthesis, open parenthesis, x minus. Because if D turns out to be less than 0, we're going to have a negative factor. Squiggly brackets, close parenthesis. Now, one other change I need to make, right? You still come on the other side of that quote, dot format. Now, because if you notice here in this squiggly bracket, I already put the minus sign, that means I don't need the minus sign from the answer. So what I'm going to do here, so since I'm not talking about the first one, that's the I, that's D. So I'm going to put I, because I don't need to change that one. And then absolute value D. Because what's going to end up happening, y'all? What's going to end up happening is that my D is going to come out to be negative. And what I don't want my answer to show up as negative, negative. That would be bad. All right. Now we need to do the other way. Oops. Oh, I did forget a line of code. Excuse me. Come back up here with me. I forgot to define I. So we're talking about the range. So if I, we were talking about that earlier, right? So I'm only dealing with the positive versions of I. So I got to put this in here. I being greater than 0. And then all of this has to go underneath. So make sure you did what I just did, because I'm defining when that range of values is positive. Now I'm going to copy and paste. Be careful with your copying and pasting. It can put ghost. Now I call them ghost errors, but it can put messy stuff in your situation. So what I'm going to do is, even though I copied all of these lines, because I'm really only going to change a few things, just to get rid of any kind of gunk here, I'm just going to go ahead and delete everything to the end till I'm at my edge. So when I indent everything, it's clean. So now, the first one was greater than 0. I'm going to make this less than 0. Bring the D over, make sure it's in the right spot, right? So now that I'm doing less than 0, I have to do the two versions, right? So when D is greater than 0 and when D is less than 0. I'm going to move over. You see me just checking to make sure my spacing is right. See, my spacing is wrong here. I'm going to put some space in here. I'm making sure that my indentations are correct. In this case, this first one's going to be negative. The second one's going to be positive, which means I need to put an absolute value around this I. Okay, that looks good. Let's come over here. D is greater than 0. Make sure you got your indentations right. Give me one more minute and we should be finished. Actually, give me 2. We should be finished. In this case, if D is less than 0, then both of these are going to be negative, which means, you guessed it, I need to put an absolute value on both of these. Okay. Now that should do it. Carriage return all the way back to the end. And now we need to tell the program the inputs. So B equals input. And I want it to say, what is B? Question mark, space. Oops. Sorry, y'all. I forgot to put the quotes here. Remember, all we want is the number. We'll do the same thing for C. Equal input. Quotes, what is C? Space. I like to put a space, remember, because I like stuff neat. Input, space, INT, C, and then give us our answers. Factor, trinomial, whatever you named it. Factor, trinomial, B, C. All right. I think we got it. Now I'm gonna, let's see, I'm gonna scroll up just a little bit, right, so you can see it, because I want you to see the answer. My head is sticking in the way. But that should be your program. Let's go ahead and run it, see if we got it. Okay, it's running. Now, based off that example we were using when I switched, right, so my B is -6 and my C is 5. So I'll enter in -6. If I enter in 5, and I should get it. That also means, right, the reason why it shows up twice, because in my program, it meets the conditions twice. Now I can clean it up and I can make that all nice and neat. Oh, it's probably because I forgot to put this thing here, right? So it shows up twice because I didn't tell it to stop. It reran the program. Now that I put my return in here, right, let's try it again. -6, 5, where you at? If I try anything again, I'm going to try it again with all positive values. Let's say if the B is, remember, you can try this with any basic trinomial. B is 7, say C is 10. There we go. And that's all, and there you go. So remember, friends, you are more than welcome to use this code, use parts of the code to help yours. Let's set a lab. Let's talk about it. Let's see how far you got. All right. Other than that, that is it. There you go. So there it is, people. Give it a shot. Give it a chance. Set up a live with me. Let's talk about it. And let's keep going forth on the fray.